Hey guys, it's a bit small here with, well, I'm here with What If Psychic Kid was a Superhero, Part 1. Before I start, I need to get some rules set up. Rule 1. I don't know the full power or the limit of Psyche's powers, or Psyche's powers, whatever you want me to call them. So I'm going to be guessing some of its limits. Rule 2. I'm going to be borrowing ideas from other shows and superheroes. And I mean borrow, I mean like I might copy ability or name, but give them different personalities and forms. For example, I might create like a Venom-like character, but he's going to have a different personality and appearance. Or another example, I might use the same name of a monster like the League of Villains or Monsters Association, but I won't be using the characters like Shiraki or the Monster King. I would instead create original villains and stuff. By final rules, I need character ideas. Like maybe you want me to create a superhero to kind of like sidekick or friend. And under my script, I realized you don't want me to do that because you said earlier, on the poem earlier, you said no. Or maybe you want to create a villain, like you can do that. Tell me your ideas, what type of villain you want. Maybe a villain just wants to destroy Psyche's copy jelly, just to piss them off. Another portion. You can tell me any ideas you have for characters, or monsters, or aliens, or superhumans, or people with techs, or robots, or villains, or something else. You can just tell me your ideas in Discord or the comments below, but I prefer the comments. But not a portion. Let's start the what if already. So one day, Saki's walking down the street when he hears a guy saying that he loves dogs, but he's actually thinking he's one or two girls. When the dog runs away, well, an accident, they almost get hit by a car. Somehow the car flies over it. That's when Saki introduces himself and reveals that he's actually a psychic. That he got it all. He could win giveaways, win any sport, get perfect grades. Basically, his life is perfect. Well, that was what you probably think, but it's actually not true. The truth is, his life is horrible. He's so strong that he doesn't feel anything. And with his telepathy, he's never surprised. And with his other powers, he doesn't try anything else. He can do anything. But he's walking, he sees his father, Kunaharo. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But he's outside his house. So when Saiki walks up to his house, Kunaharo asks his son to let him in. After walking, Saiki uses his powers to open the door. But when sorry guys, my dog is being crazy. But when Kunaharo walks in, he starts arguing with his wife, and Saiki's mom, Kurumi, saying, well, doesn't really care. But you already know all of this, because you've probably seen the anime or something. If you hadn't, then check it out, it's on Netflix. Like I was saying, Saiki uses his powers to fix his parents' relationship. The next day at school, he's thinking to himself, he's so bored and he kind of wants a challenge. Then he remembers he needs to go to the auditorium for the introduction lecture. Whatever you call it, I can't remember what it's called. It's where they basically tell you how to act while wearing a uniform outside of school. But as Saiki gets in line, he gets a headache before seeing a massive explosion. But as the fire dies down, he sees hundreds of bodies and outline of some sort of monster. As the monster gets ready to eat him, Saiki finds himself back in the auditorium. As when Saiki looks around and says to himself, was that a precognition? For people who don't know, Saiki has basically seen the future. Something really bad happens. That's when Saiki thinks to himself, what was that? Some sort of monster? But then somebody puts his hands around his eyes and says, guess who? So Saiki says, not to deal with him. He doesn't have time. That's when he looks and sees that it's Nindo. Then Saiki thinks to himself, then now he has to deal with this moron. He's always difficult to deal with, because he's too stupid for him to read his mind. For some reason, he's taking a strange liking to him. But then some kid with green hair falls over. Then Saiki says, it's a good thing Takashi faked being sick. Maybe I can use him to get out of here without being spotted. Before he can move, everything starts to rumble. And Takashi gets up saying, what was that? Blowing his cover. But some of the guys said it's probably an earthquake. Someone says, only lasted a couple of seconds though. There's no aftershock. Nobody stopped on their track when they hear some sort of roar. That's when everybody looks around and says, what was that? But the teacher's trying to calm everybody down, saying there's probably some sort of small earthquake and roar was a prank. But as the principal is telling everybody to calm down, That's when you see a blue-haired pretty girl and a couple of other girls look at their phones, horrified. That's when Saiki thinks to himself. You read their minds. He knows what's going on. When a girl screams, a bunch of guys surround the girls and ask if they're okay. But as Saiki walks away, he feels somebody grab his hand and he sees Nendo. He then says, I wonder what's happening, or what scared Terashi and those other girls. That's when Saiki thinks to himself, damn it, I need to get out of here. He can't run away or teleport with Nendo grabbing onto him. But the guy asks what's wrong. Some of the guys and other girls pull their phones out and start either screaming or saying, what the hell? That's when everybody pulls out their phones and asks what's wrong. But some ask what's wrong. The ones without phones ask what's wrong. The principal's telling everybody to calm down. The guy says, how can it become with a giant monster? That's when everybody who didn't see their phones looked up the kid confused. That's when a kid with blue hair or cyan colored hair, I can't tell, I'm colorblind. Well, kind of. Starts laughing and says, what are you talking about? There's no monster. Even there was, he'd kill it in one hit. The parrot that jet black wings. Then another kid says, holy crap, check out social media. Or Twitter or something. Then everybody pulls their phones and sees that the entire screens are either filled with people freaking out because of giant explosions, or some sort of giant monster is seen flying. And says, what is that? Then a kid says, there's a giant rat flying. And someone says, what? Then the kid says, like I told you, it's a giant rat. It then shows a picture of what seems to be a giant rat that's at least 40 feet long, with a skull head and angel wings. Then says, that sounds horrible. Well, it doesn't matter, let's go get some ramen. But as he looks at Saiki, he realizes, hey, where'd he go? Because he's not holding Saiki's sweater or jacket. So then he looks around and says, where are you, buddy? So then the red-haired kid says, hey, did you lose your friend? So then he says, yeah, he was just here. The red-haired kid says, hey, don't worry. In times of crisis, he must be scared. I'll go look for him. Then a bunch of kids say, don't do it, Hiro, it's too dangerous. But he says, it's my duty to help people. What they don't know is Saiki's turning on the roof. And he's watching this giant rat, or giant creature fly, and shooting fireballs out of his mouth, and destroying buildings. So Saiki thinks to himself, what the hell is that thing? Some sort of mutant, monster, psychic or something? And he hears, leave my home. That's when Saiki looks at the creature and thinks to himself, that he can read his mind. Which means that I think that it's smart enough to know what it's doing. Then the creature stops. He thinks to himself, he smells. No, he smells something strong. The rat thing, he smells something strong. He then looks directly at Saiki and says, finally, a challenge. He then charges up a fireball and shoots directly at Saiki. But as the fire is heading right toward him, Saiki puts his hand out and says cryokinesis and freezes the ball and turns it into a mist. Connected to both. And Saiki says, hey, stop this. What the hell is wrong with you? Then he hears, too slow. Then he sees a tail coming right at him. But as the tail's about to hit him, Saiki teleports. That's when Saiki asks, why is it doing this? Then you realize, wait a second, I can still read his mind. And he's like, then you realize, with his mind reading, it's tracking me. Then he hears, found you! And sees another fireball at him. So he uses cryokinesis to stop it. And since it's really hard to pronounce it or type, I'm going to start calling it ice powers. But as Saiki thinks to himself, why does this thing want to kill me? Like, I didn't even know what it is. But as he says this, he sees a set of claws come right at him. And he thinks, I need to use my telekinesis or I'm going to get killed. So he uses telekinesis and flies away. Then Saiki says, what do you want from me? And then the monster says, interesting, you speak well with your mouth. Any chance are you an esper or telepath? That's when Saiki says, will you notice that? And says, why wouldn't I? Then Saiki thinks himself, this thing is immune to my mind control. Then the monster says, since it seems that you can read my mind, let's end this quickly. He then opens his mouth, but instead of shooting one giant fall, shoots hundreds of small ones, like a machine gun. Saiki either dodges them or blocks them with telekinesis or ice powers. So Saiki says, what are you, a monster? And he says, he's many things, but he called him the Rat King. Then spreads his wings and charges at Saiki. But Saiki thinks to himself, the teleportation isn't charged yet. He then says, I have to fight this thing, I guess. At that time, when a mom and son are running away from destruction, when they hear some sort of lightning strike, that's when the kid turns around and sees a huge lightning bolt, and the kid's jaw drops. Then cut back to Saiki, and he's panting, and says, he survived that? That's when the Rat King says, that he certainly is a threat. You should dispose of him quickly. Then the Rat King then decides to saying, I'm gonna end you, make sure you're dead. And Saiki says, really, with your eye? Then shows the Rat King with a destroyed and burnt eye. The Rat King then opens his mouth and screams so hard that it breaks nearby windows, and even makes Saiki flinch. When Saiki hears tail strike, sees a huge tail hit him, send him flying into 3 buildings before stopping. And Saiki starts to get up with his head bleeding and his clothes a little bit torn. That's when he hears, you're still alive? And Saiki sees the Rat King, but now he's way bigger. And Saiki had to guess, it looked like the rat grew 10 feet. But the Rat King says, let's get this over with. He says, since we can't hide from him because we can smell him, that means he can't teleport away. So you just need to use his teleport in a different way. He then teleports right before the monster eats him. The monster says, you can't hide from me. I can smell you. As he sniffs, he says, it can't be. Sees Saiki above him. But then Saiki creates electricity in one hand and fire in another, for grabbing both of the Rat King's wings and frying them or cooking them. She made the Rat King screech, even at her. But Saiki enters the scream and says that he seems to not notice who's the stronger animal here is. Then appears right in front of the Rat King again, and the Rat King tries to create a fireball, but his mouth is shut, because he then sees Saiki with a blue mist around his hand. Before his entire mouth and throat is engulfed in ice. Then the Rat King says, or thinks, humans are supposed to have powers, and alone be this strong. Then the Rat King feels his choke get grabbed. He starts getting lifted. But he's asking, what? The Rat King tries to scream or shoot fireballs, but he can't. He can't generate any sound or generate any fire because his mouth is encased in ice. And he can't fly away with his wings either because they're burnt and electrified. So when he sees Saiki with one hand out and his eyes glowing, a small cut on his forehead. That's when he says, what are you? No Esper is this strong. He says, kind of. But he then throws the Rat King in the air, and Saiki starts creating a ball of energy, and throws it, and says, I prefer to be called psychic though. The ball then hits the Rat King and explodes, which engulfs the Rat King, in flames. What Saiki doesn't realize that everybody outside of his range or isn't under rubble. Because when he was in, he fought because he thought people was under rubber, debris, rubble. I can't say it. But Saiki didn't realize that everybody outside of telepathy range. Dang, I can't speak. I'm sorry, guys. Something's wrong with my mouth. I recently broke some of my teeth, so I need to get new ones. But everybody out of his range. That's when he are watching him, and they see the monster get incinerated. As fire disappears, the skeleton appears and starts falling. Soon the skeleton hits the floor and lands on some rubble. But as the skeleton on the ground, Saiki thinks this was pretty easy. Then he hears, how could I lose? Some Saiki says, how are you still alive? And incinerated you down to your bone. That's when the monster says, may not be able to speak or move, but his skull is protected by his brain. His brain is protected by his skull. Like it says, then I just charge a bunch of power on one finger and create a hole in your skull. But before he does, the Rat King says, I'm sorry. That's when Saiki says, you can't be serious. The Rat King then says, sir, all my loyal subjects, I failed. I could not claim their service for the rat race. He's sorry that they have to live in the human's waste. But as he finishes talking, he speaks to Saiki again. He says, now you can finish me off. Because it didn't like his brain would be able to survive long enough without his body. Saiki then sighs and creates a small ball of energy and swings before shooting it in his skull. The Rat King then asks, but as he does this, the Rat King screams romantically in pain. Saiki places his hand on a hole and destroys the brain with his fire ability, or pyrokinesis, or something like that. and he kills it. As he dies, Saiki looks around and sees destruction. And so he could repair all of this, but he's weak. He needs to repair himself first. But he also raised a huge amount of suspicion, saying all monsters try to attack the city and nothing was destroyed. But Saiki thinking about what to do, since he just fought this monster and destroyed like 5 blocks. Before he can do, he starts hearing people's thoughts, and most of them are either thinking, did Saiki come out? Or what took down a monster? So Saiki thinks to himself, he better run. He then teleports out of here. And teleports to his school bathroom. He uses time manipulation or chronokinesis, depending on what you call it, to heal all of his wounds and some of his clothes. But after he does, he walks out and hears Buddy. Sounds like he says, dang it. That's when he sees Nana running up to him. Says, what happened? That you shouldn't be out here, and it's super dangerous. And that there's a giant chicken attacking the town. Saiki thinks so. It's a rat, you idiot. But as Saiki is dragged back to the auditorium, and ends up getting scolded by Matsuzuki/PE teacher. But after everybody calms down, some kids are forced to hunker down until they hear it's safe. But not even 20 minutes later, some kids and teachers are checking social media and news and find out the monster was killed. But as everybody is cheering and celebrating, Kato says, wait, what killed it? And everybody looks at each other. Somebody says, according to the people who found a skeleton, it looks like it's burnt to the bone. So somebody screams, says, what? Who could have possibly done that? And the government can't do that, can they? Not to mention, nobody knows where the monster showed up, and Kato says, it's probably Dark Green Union. Actually thinking so, there was actually a monster? As everybody asks, what's Dark Green Union? Kato says that they knew was looking down to steal his power in his right arm. But then Akio smacks Kato's head, says, take this seriously. Which almost made Kaito cry. But after a couple of hours, parents showed up and took their kids home. Or they just left. And Saiki leaves at will. But like most students, or in Saiki's case, he was dragged by Nenu to the rumored corpse of the rat monster. When everybody saw it, they were shocked, even though many of the police officers tried to cover it up, and government agents or something, because they're an actual monster skeleton. Then the guy says, why does it look like there was a fight here? And the guy says, what do you mean? And the guy says, you watch a lot of fighting animes and manga. It looks like there was a fight here. He points to some buildings. He points that the horse in there are way too small for the monster, like a human was thrown into it. And the guy says, nobody could possibly fight the thing. Can't speak. Nobody could have possibly fought that thing. So then the girl says, but a giant rat is possible. As a bunch of teachers talk and tell each other what they think, Saiki eventually sneaks away and goes home. And the minute he enters his house, his parents walk up to him and ask, or more like scream, did you fight it and kill it? Saiki's like, what, huh? That's when Kurumi, Saiki's mom, says that she heard a giant monster attack nearby his school. Then they found a corpse. Kunohari, or Saiki's dad, then ask, if he fought it? Saiki says, yeah, he was going to kill me and might destroy my school. And I couldn't escape from it, so I had to fight it. His dad then asks if he knew where it came from, but Saiki says no. Since he doesn't want to deal with his parents' questions, he teleports upstairs. When Saiki teleports upstairs, dang it, sorry guys, that's my stomach. I have indigestion, like I was saying. But what Saiki doesn't know is that they're currently a disaster group looking for survivors in the debris of the destroyed part of the city. And a man comes across some sort of skateboard. It looks different. Instead of wheels, it has 2 flat circles at the end of it. But the man looks at it, some sort of cannon pops out of the side and shoots the guy in the face and kills him. Before the board hits the floor, it starts to hover. The board then flies over to some sort of guy in purple armor. He kind of looks like 6 or from Ben 10. And as the board stops in front of him, he says, shouldn't you learn not to touch other people's stuff? He then hops into his board and flies so high they can see all the destruction of the city. Of the blocks, technically. He then destroys the city. He says, it's time for the show to begin. Then says 5%. And as his hands start to glow, he shoots a small ball of energy that creates a huge crater. So then we cut back to Saiki. He's laying down, but he has an vision. But instead of fire, there's some sort of smoke. And as he looks around, he sees that city is full of craters. The vision then ends. So when he grabs his head and asks, what's going on? So when his mom screams for him to come downstairs. And when Saiki ask why. Because you realize that always moments are thinking is, what is that thing? So when he teleports downstairs, sees that the news is broadcasting an attack and some sort of flying thing. And they think it's terrorist. Then a new channel glitches for a second, before a second screen appears on a new channel. There's some sort of guy with purple and robotic armor. Like I said, looks like Sixer. He then starts saying that due to this news channel's popularity, he has hijacked it. He says that in 1 hour, he will destroy the city. Then cuts him to shooting a ball energy that destroys a bunch of houses. Then says, you have that long to evacuate. But the only reason I'm telling you guys, I want to give you a chance to evacuate. But after that, you're all dead. But guys, I'm going to have to end the what if here. But tell me in the comments below if you want a part 2. And also like, share, subscribe, and check out my Discord and other channels in the description below. So you guys can maybe get a coffee jelly.